Hello everyone and welcome back to Next Gen Competition. We are here at the Sugo Raceway for round 14 of Season 6 here in Project IndyCar for the Japanese GP. We are coming into this race as we approach the end of the season, not long left now to go. So the championship battle is heating up even more than it has been all season long. 4 drivers are up ahead at the moment looking to try and win this championship, all of them looking for their first Project IndyCar Championship, although during the week we got some news which has, well, rather large championship implications. It was revealed during the week that current championship leader Evan Dalton would not be able to compete any further races after this one here at the Sugo racetrack. That of course means that it's going to be near impossible for him to win this championship this season. Sadly, other commitments that an opportunity he couldn't pass up has led him to being in a situation where it was sensible for him to leave, and that's entirely understandable, although sadly that means despite having currently a 26-point championship lead, he will not be able to contend for this championship for the remainder of the season. There are 4 more races after tonight, so that means another 200 points available, so there'd have to be a lot of drama, I mean a lot of drama, for him to somehow win the championship despite not racing. So yes, it's a shame for him, but he's still here today for his final race of the season, looking to try and go out on a high with a win here at this track that has been, well, a very challenging one so far, and with rain scheduled for the race towards the end of it again, just like last time out at Watkins Glen. More rain on the way, potentially, as we've already seen some rain in this practice session. It's going to be an exciting race, and, well, as I said, Evan will be looking to go out on a high here at this very tricky racetrack that, well, it's certainly no mean feat to win around this place. So many corners, so many high-speed, so many slow-speed corners. It really does have a bit of everything around here, plus 2 very long straights to give all these drivers a good chance to overtake. As practice is coming to an end now, qualifying will begin in just a few moments' time. 10 minutes of qualifying there will be, and then that'll take us in to a 33-lap race around here, which should roughly work out to be about 40 minutes or so, with all the cautions that could potentially happen. Caution count for today will be 4 cars, so we have a grid of 9 cars here today, which is quite nice to see. So yeah, that's someone missing, I just realised, although I don't know who, so I'm going to have to quickly work that one out. Let's have a look. Attendance. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So yes, there is 1 person missing. Adam Richardson is here, Thomas Pierpont, Evan Dalton, Tyler Davison, Niall Caron, Jonathan Mills, Scott Sandover, Aston Lewis, and Ben Driscoll. Adam Liu, he is not here. That's a surprise to me. Adam Liu, not currently here. Yeah, hopefully he'll be in for qualifying. But yes, that is practice done. Now it's time for the 10-minute qualifying session to set the grid for today's Japanese Grand Prix. A track where I imagine overtaking won't be easy, but it certainly will be possible with the long straights, as I said, the long straights giving a couple of good chances to pass around here. But equally, lots and lots of corners, some of which high speed will mean that it's the dirty air will be a factor. Not quite as much as it was last time out at Watkins Glen, but certainly it will be a factor. It's at some level, even if it's not perhaps the biggest of them, as we get all the information up here on your screens. Please, if you have anything to say or any questions or anything else, please feel free to comment below, and I'll try and read them out during the race. First comment so far, we have Evan saying let's get it. Evan looking to go out on a high here, a deserving high, the championship leader, a real star of the Project IndyCar series, one of the drivers and one of the people that were the reason this league first started, one of the drivers that early on suggested they'd be very interested in this series. Sadly, funnily enough, he wasn't unable to compete for the first half of the first series. For the first season, only completed the Indy 250. Then in the next season, he completed about half the season, I remember correctly. This season being his first, well, planned full-time season. Sadly, of course, in the end, that is not how it's worked out, as we'll have a look at him preparing his flying lap here through the final corner at high speed, flat out all the way around here with the downforce of IndyCar. Really stunning place to see race cars race. As he makes his way down towards turn 1 now, across the start-finish line quite late in the straight, and down into turn 1 he goes, braking hard, getting it turned in. 3rd gear, using all the road on exit, but not too much, otherwise you'll get a penalty. Now keeps it on the road into turn 3 now. A little bit of a kink to the left as the car spun up ahead. He's just luckily off the racing line now. This is where it gets quite tricky through that tight left-hander and out steeply uphill through the chicane. Got to throw the car through there, but don't take too much curb otherwise the car will bottom out and you'll go wide, like what just happened to the car behind Evan there on the racetrack. If you saw that under the corner of your screen, as now Evan makes his way down the back straight. This corner all about maximising the exit so that he gets the best run down the straight. As we see again, that is Ben Driscoll spinning the background out of that corner, and now hard braking into this tight right-hander. Another good overtaking spot for the race now into these two fast left-handers, really testing the driver's ability to be precise with the wheel. Any small errors and you'll find yourself off the racetrack quite quickly. As now through the flat-out final corner, this is where overtakes will be made in the race. Not necessarily through the corner, but that's going to be the corner that decides the overtake realistically, because through there the driver behind will be getting a lovely slipstream and they'll be following closer and closer and closer and get a chance to make a move into this very corner down at turn 1. They'll reach their top speed and they'll make the move. Evan Dalton though, with his first lap on the board with a 1:04.840, and that's a brilliant lap there from the Irishman, looking to go out and win. So far it's looking good for him to go out to pole, as he is currently 3.5 seconds ahead of second place and beat the best lap time in practice, which is certainly something that we need to notice, because practice usually we do see quite competitive laps in this. It's not like a Formula 1 practice session where they're a little bit sort of backing it off a little bit. This is, in practice, they are practicing properly. They're not just practicing for the fun of it here, as we see Evan now breaking into this next corner. Perhaps going for a bit of a slower lap this time, just to prepare himself for the next one, cooling down his tyres a touch, because with all these high-speed corners here, it can be very easy to overheat the tyres there, as Niall Caron has jumped up into second place, the other Irishman in the field, looking to have a good day. Now he's been replaced at that P2 position by Adam Richardson in that shining white Phoenix Motorsports number 6 car. Here he's just under 4 tenths off of Evan's lap time, but still 4 tenths. I mean, of all the tracks, I'd imagine it's a track where you can probably find time quite easily, because it is quite a long circuit with lots of corners, a lot of which, as I said, are very technical and sort of can easily make mistakes in them. I think it's definitely possible to find the time that a lot of these drivers are missing at the moment, but it's such a long lap that it's going to be so hard to get that clean, perfect lap together that I don't think we'll see it very often, if at all, here. As there we see Evan Dalton just behind Adam Richardson on the racetrack. He's half second down in his best lap, so he won't be improving at the moment. Thomas Pierpont, he's in the pits, I imagine, just changing his tyres over to a different set. As here we see Tyler Davison's jumped up into third position, teammate to Evan Dalton. He spins through turn 1, loses the rear and just about avoids any contact with any walls there. Spins the car back around and he's kept going, but that lap for him enough to put him third, 8 tenths off of P1 at the moment. And you can really see there's a lot of field spread here, because it is so hard to just get a clean lap around this place, because so many things have to go your way. You have to get, for starters, you as a driver, you have to make sure every corner's perfect, because a lot of these corners, as you can see, have a very little runoff area, and any runoff area they do have could potentially be a place where if you go too much off, you'll then get a slowdown penalty, and that will cost you that lap. And equally, you've got to hope you don't get into traffic, because we've got 10 cars racing around this place, as luckily Adam Lee, who has jumped in now. We've got 10 cars around this track, and whilst it is quite a long track, you can see on the minimap in the top right of your screen that somehow half of the track is basically empty and the other half has everyone on it. And this is sort of one of those weird coincidences that happens in racing, that you'd think, oh well, if they're struggling with traffic, just go to the big gap. But then maybe 1 or 2 of them will have that idea, more will then go, oh look at that big gap on track, and then they'll all end up there. And then we're back to square one. Luckily we're seeing a few gaps spread out now as people begin to prepare their next laps here. As going down the line straight now, we'll have a look as we see Evan Dalton. He's about to come through the final corner before the Sector 2 split, and it doesn't look like he's pushing here. Looks like he's got some sort of issue. Adam Richardson is the car just up ahead of him there. He's not pushing either. We'll go back to Tyler Davison then as we look further down the order. We've got Aston Lewis currently yet to set a lap time. Will he finish one here, or is he starting one? He's going to come across the line, and he's starting his first flying lap of the session. Throws it into turn 1, third gear, using all the road now. Trying to make these first 2 corners more one corner. Making 2 apexes out of that one steering motion to try and just be a bit smoother on the wheel, try and not create any unnecessary friction now as he comes up through the uphill part of this racetrack. A lot of grip up there, but equally it's a very narrow part of the racetrack with some really tight corners. which means that you need that extra grip that you get from going uphill. Before now, it starts to flatten out and then head back downhill. That corner there, very easy to run wide because it's so much longer than you think it is, especially given the fact that it flattens out compared to the previous two corners. The car handles completely differently. As now into this hard braking zone, a little bit of banking to this corner, not too much, but enough just to help the cars rotate through there. And now into these fast left-handers, using all the road and a little bit more there, throwing it through there. Wonderful driving from Aston Lewis. And now into the final corner. Look at the speed they're carrying. 140 miles per hour plus through this long final corner, and heading down the main straight he goes now with all the downforce of an IndyCar. Now suddenly he doesn't want any of it. He wants the top speeds. He comes across the line. Aston Lewis jumps up into third place, just half a second off the P1. Good lap there from Aston Lewis, and wow, it looked like he was pushing, and certainly he was, just half a second off. Only 4 drivers win a second of the fastest time currently. The bottom of the times now is Scott Sandover driving the number 9 Chevrolet for Fast Formula Racing. He made a mistake there, so that's probably going to be him not going to be able to complete this lap. Of course, a winner earlier in the season and was a championship contender in the early points of the season. Sadly for him, missing a couple of races and just not having all the results go his way has taken him out of that fight, leaving it just down to the other 4 drivers that will, I imagine, become free after next week's race. But he's still pushing hard. It's Scott Sandover looking for that second win, not only of the season, but also of his Project IndyCar career. As he makes his way down the main straight. He's got several other cars on the racetrack. Everyone but Niall Caron and Evan Dalton on the racetrack. Now is an improvement there for Scott, but not quite enough to jump up a position. He's just behind Ben Driscoll at the moment, who is a returning to the IndyCar series. Of course, he raced back all the way in the first series of the Project IndyCar series, so he did a few races before deciding that it wasn't for him and deciding that perhaps he had other things that he wanted to spend his time on. But today, had a bit of spare time, so he's jumped into the 61 for Phoenix Motorsports and will be reserving for them today just to help out the team and also just have a little bit of fun. And so far, he's 1.2 seconds off the next quickest car and ahead of one of the winners that we've had this season, so certainly not a bad start to this. And really, we've seen in the past and we'll see it in the future, I'm sure, in Project IndyCar, it's really, really hard to get up to speed in qualifying especially, but by the end of your first or second race, maybe you haven't quite got the qualifying pace down, your race pace is there or thereabouts and close enough to be able to at least have some fun in the race here. He's got a car from the background there that to me looked like Adam Richardson. Indeed it was, as the timing tower's openly is not showing anyone's got first place, so I'm not entirely sure what's happened there. Let's have a look at the timing, shall we? And yet indeed it is that anyone? No. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. Evan's not there for whatever reason. I hope everything's okay with him. That's not ideal to be missing him here ahead of the start of this race. Oh, he's got a spinner there. That looked like Ben Driscoll going around as Aston Lewis here. I'm going to have a quick look at my phone to see if I can see anything from Evan. Potentially about why it could just be a glitch on our end. Hopefully it is, because don't want any problems there. Yeah, hopefully that's just a glitch. There's just a few seconds left in this race now, in this qualifying session. Sorry, now not long left. Final laps will be beginning for those that are coming across the start-finish line over the next 15 seconds. So that means Adam Richardson just starting his final lap now. Behind him, he's got a gaggle of cars there. Aston Lewis is in that group. Behind him, that looks like Adam Liu to me. Or that might be Thomas Pierpont on the blue cars. And that looks like Adam Liu to me as they go through turn 1. The final laps are beginning, but also some are coming to an end. Here's Niall Caron just ahead of Jonathan Mills. Niall Caron's going to come across the line. Can he improve? Doesn't look like there is Jonathan Mills. Will he come across the line and improve? No, he won't either. The next car will be Scott Sandover by the looks of things, and he does jump up into 9th position. Thomas Pierpont jumps up into that 4th position on the grid. So he has gained a place there as we look further through the field. Tyler Davison, he is in 5th position. Already seen Niall Caron. Now we see Adam Liu. He's making his way down the back straight there as that's Ben Driscoll off the road. He will not be able to improve. Adam Richardson, he'll be the next to cross the line, but he goes wide, and that will be this lap over for him. So second on the grid will be the best for Adam Richardson, unless there is some sort of issue for Evan Dalton on the pole position. So we'll look further back here to Adam Liu, and just ahead of him, I believe that was a yellow car, which means it was Tyler Davison. No, it means it was... No, who would that be? I don't know. We'll look at Adam Liu. I don't know who the car ahead of him is. He makes his way across the line now. Where will he jump? He will jump up into 8th place. So 1.7 seconds off, and I believe the car ahead of him. What, that looks like an Andretti. That must Who drives that? Aston Lewis, that's who it was. And Evan Dalton does indeed take pole position, but he has a one-place grid penalty. So Evan Dalton will start second for today's race. Adam Richardson being given that one-place grid penalty, so that means Adam Richardson being given the pole position. And that is not ideal for Evan Dalton, which does sadly mean that he'll miss out on the pole position point as well. But he's not the only one to make that mistake, as another person has got the grid penalty. Further down the order on that, of course, is Niall Caron down in 6th place. And that is your results for qualifying here for round 14 of the season. Let's continue on to the race. Going to be an exciting one, I certainly hope so. The track is one that can lead to some excitement here. Adam Richardson on the pole, looking to try and close up in the championship fight. Aston Lewis, he's starting in 3rd place. He'll be looking to try and do something as well here. He wants to try and retake that championship lead that he lost last week. Further down the order, down in 8th place, Adam Liu, outsider for the title. At times this season, he has been one of the quickest, if not the quickest driver. But at other times, it has just not gone his way. Starting 8th today, that's not where he would have wanted to be on the grid. But it's a long 33 laps ahead of him. I'm sure there'll be some drama, there'll be some cautions, there could even be some crashes. All we know is that there's 33 laps ahead of us, and that nothing is impossible. The grid just getting ready now. The drivers all making their final preparations ahead of this race, making sure that everything's right, their strategy's all right, make sure the tyres are all correct, fuel is all correct. Don't make any mistakes here as they start with 52.6 litres in the tank. That should, we'll have to wait and see how far that gets them into this race. Strategy could well be a factor indeed. Before we start this race, I'll have a quick update on the standings for you all, so that you have an idea. So Evan Dalton currently leads the point standings by an impressive 26 points ahead of Adam Richardson, the driver starting on pole position. Aston Lewis, he is 30 points behind Evan Dalton, he starts in 3rd position. And then Adam Liu, he is a 44 points behind Evan Dalton, so he has to close that up in the championship, but he's starting down in 8th, so it's going to be a tough race for him. 5th in the championship is Scott Sandover. He is starting 9th today, ahead of Jonathan Mills, who will be starting in 6th position. So there are your main top guys in the championship. Tyler Davison, the winner last time out, he's on a nice round 300 points. He currently sits 7th in the championship as we prepare to go racing. Tyler Davison starting 5th in today's race. The lights are coming on, and we're getting ready to go racing. We are racing here in the Japanese Grand Prix, and it's a good start from Richardson, who immediately pulls ahead as they head towards turn 1. They all dive to the inside to try and get the best line. Evan Dalton looks like he's held on to 2nd place there as there's carnage in the background. Multiple cars look like they've gone off the road, but up at the front it's Adam Richardson who leads ahead there of Evan Dalton. Aston Lewis, the top 3 remains unchanged. Niall Caron in 4th place. Adam Liu is in 5th. Several cars have had issues here on the opening lap, but it looks like everyone's kept going in the same direction as they we see side-by-side racing between Thomas, Pierpont and Jonathan Mills. Mills is off the road, so is Pierpont. Mills floors it, trying to keep himself in the fight though, as they make their way back onto the racetrack. He's got a car off the road, and that's Niall Caron, the driver that had a great start, drops down the order, and he's round as well. That's Scott Sandover. That's 2 cars now at issues on the opening lap of this race, and that's big issues, 2 spins there on the opening lap. As up at the front of the field, let's have a look at how things are going. It's Adam Richardson who leads by 1.5 seconds ahead of Evan Dalton. Aston Lewis in 3rd, ahead of Adam Liu. Then comes Tyler Davison, who's defending there from Ben Driscoll, who had a good start to get up into 6th place after starting on the very back of the grid. Thomas Pierpont behind him, just ahead of Jonathan Mills, as then comes Niall Caron, who spun up towards the end of the 1st sector, and then Scott Sandover, who spun just at the beginning of the 2nd sector. But Adam Richardson leads the 1st lap here at the Sugo circuit. He leads, and will be looking to keep it that way with a 1.6 advantage. Already that's a good start for the Brit. Evan Dalton will have to push hard to try and close that gap in, but you see there, already you can see how hard he's pushing, using all the road and more as he clips the grass on several corners now. Surely that can't be the quickest way, but, you know, he knows what he's doing, so I'll trust him on that one. He's pushing out there on this racetrack, again kicking up some dust there as Aston Lewis does the same. Aston Lewis trying to close in here to this lead group. When he goes a little bit wide, that could give a chance there to Adam Liu, but Adam Liu makes a mistake as well. So the top 4 in the race now are the top 4 in the championship, and with the exception of the top 2 being the wrong way around, they're pretty much in the order they should be. Tyler Davison in 5th position as well. Adam Richardson looks likely to lead the second lap as well here. 2-second lead. He is flying out here on this racetrack. The dirty air could well be a factor as they make their way around this circuit with so many high-speed corners. It's the high-speed corners really where you feel that lack of downforce. Evan Dalton having to push hard to try and reel him in. As we look further down the order, we've got Ben Driscoll now having to defend from, I believe that is Niall Karen who's reeled him in here. Then throwing it into this next corner, but he spins. Ben goes around and collects Niall. That's 2 cars around there, well, 1 car around, the other one getting involved, and that is the 3rd car to have incident in the first portion of the race here. 1 more car and a caution will be called here, as John Mills has got ahead of Thomas Pierpont. As we look further up the road, Tyler Davison trying to close in here on the battle for 3rd place, which is currently between Aston Lewis and Adam Liu. Battling away there as up at the front, the gap continues to grow. Adam Richardson flying out here ahead of Evan Dalton, who's looking to try and finish his Project IndyCar season on a high. Still another 4 races, sadly for him. Not going to be able to fight for this championship much longer, but he wants to try and end his season on a high, even if it means he can't win the championship. As we see through the final corner now, the speed these cars can take, and I imagined that they would be able to catch quite a lot through here, but I wonder perhaps if it's actually quite hard to follow through that final corner when you're in the dirty air. I'm not 100% sure. Admittedly, looking at the layout of the track, it is a sort of finished the lap that isn't very good for following because of lots of high-speed corners, which is where it's particularly hard to follow. But Adam Lee, you can see pushing as hard as he can through this first sector. The slow speed corner is much easier to follow through because you need much less downforce, so the raw talent, the raw speed that you have behind the wheel can make up for the lack of downforce. There's a big slide there for Adam Liu. He just somehow holds on to it, and he is going to stay in this fight for 3rd place. He may have lost quite a bit of time, but he's kept it going in the right direction, and that's what counts. For now, at least. Long way to go in this one as the gap up front has closed down just a little bit, as Jonathan Mills has got a time penalty for the looks of things. Let's have a quick look. Indeed, there's a 1-second time penalty there as we look back up to the front of the field. As you see Evan Dalton now having to lift quite a lot through those couple of corners, getting it through, and now into the final corner. Will he be able to keep it flat? 2.5 seconds back in theory. He should be out of the dirty air now, which means he should be able to close back in if he has the pace. It's usually around that second and a half that you really start to feel the effects of dirty air, but perhaps around here it's a little bit longer. He's got a slow car heading down the back straight. It is Aston Lewis down the main straight, I should say, and that is up into 3rd place. Adam Liu, despite making that mistake, Aston Lewis makes one as well, and that gifts an opportunity. Liu up into the 3rd position, but Aston Lewis, he's going to look down from the inside of turn 2. That's a bold move. Liu holds it on around the outside though. Aston Lewis looking to try and find a way past him. It's going to have to be a send here into turn 4. He's got it, the inside line. Can he now keep them side by side as they go into the chicane? No, he has to back out there. Very tricky to go side by side through that chicane without any form of contact, so perhaps the right decision there from Lewis to back out of that one. But Liu just ahead of him, still very much within reach. He has to just get this corner right and maybe he'll have a chance down into the next one at the end of this straight now. Liu didn't seem to get the best of exits. Aston Lewis didn't either though, but considering he's in the dirty air, it wasn't a bad attempt, as now they head it down towards the next corner. Adam Liu braking hard as the field starting to spread out, but also starting to close back in on itself once more. As we see now, look at how close these two are. Liu and Lewis, nose to tail. This could be a great chance for Lewis. As Liu goes wide, Lewis is going to have a chance here as they head towards the main straight. Look at this. Lewis trying to keep his foot on the floor, but he has to go a little bit wide. The dirty area is going to cost him the downforce he needs through that final corner, but he's going to be close enough as they head down the main straight, and Liu relinquishes the position. Lewis is back up into 3rd position there, and he's back into a podium place that could prove crucial as this season goes on. Liu dropping out with a mistake there, and it was a mistake that got him the position, but in the end it was a mistake that cost him it too. He drops back as well, allowing Tyler Davison to close in here, but the whole pack is really bunched up in to this 3rd place battle. Thomas Pierpont's not that far back. He's got past Jonathan Mills, who is in that 7th position. As you now see that I believe Adam Liu might have a penalty as well, and Adam Liu also has a 1-second time penalty. Already 2 drivers in this race with 1-second time penalties. That'll be for track limits if you are wondering. When you breach track limits in this game, assuming it's a minor track limits breach, it'll give you the chance to slow down to give up the time that the game thinks is a fair amount. I'll be honest with you, the amount that the game wants to give up usually is a bit more than you actually gain. But you know, you have a time where you have to basically just get fully out of the throttle, just coast the car until that message disappears, get back in the throttle and go again. Although if you don't slow down enough, you could slow down 99% as much as the game wants, but then if you don't complete it, you'll get a penalty. And that's why it's so important that if you are sort of going to slow down to serve a penalty, you have to make sure you do it, otherwise you're just going to cost yourself even more time there. As Liu's all the way onto the grass there into turn one, that's not going to help him at all. Going to get lots of dirt on his tyres for that, but it looks like for now he's kept it going. as the field is really spreading out in this race. 7 seconds is the gap from the top 2 back to third place Aston Lewis. As we can also see there, that's Tyler Davison starting to feel the pressure from Thomas Pierpont, as Davison really struggling here. And the fast Formula Racing car and the Northern Autosport car look like they could well be about to do battle here as they head towards the back straight. Davison really struggling. Look at that, Pierpont all over the back of him. He's going to have a chance down into this next corner. But Pierpont not quite close enough, I don't think. Not going to be able to brake late enough, but it'll keep him close enough for now that he might have a chance later on the lap as Davison goes a little bit wide. And Thomas Pierpont through here. It's much harder to follow. These 2 high-speed kinks, really tricky. Just got to back it down and hope you keep it on the track now. Let's watch Pierpont through this final corner. Can he keep his throttle in it? He tries, he spins, he catches it out of nowhere. Brilliant save there for Pierpont. He dipped wheels on the grass through a high-speed corner at 150 miles per hour, and somehow he keeps the car going in the right way, and he might still make the overtake. He's to the outside of turn 1, around the outside. Pierpont, he goes a little bit wide, but was that too far wide? He's still on the outside. Can he make this move stick? He's now got the inside for turn 3. As they head towards turn 4, Davison runs himself wide. Pierpont is up into 5th position. Brilliant move there. He went from nearly crashing in the final corner to getting up into the top 5 here. And now Davison drops back to 6th place, with Jonathan Mills being the next that will have to challenge him for that position. This track really is a testing one, as Aston Lewis is beginning to reel in the top 2 just a little bit here. But of course, because of that battle behind them, he's also pulling away from the cars behind. Of course, Adam Liu and Thomas Pierpont, the cars behind him at the moment. He is doing quite well indeed. As we look back now on that, Pierpont just ahead of Davison, and then just behind Davison is Mills. Mills perhaps sensing an opportunity here to try and capitalise on Davison being stuck in the dirty air, although Mills, if anything, looked like he struggled a bit more through that complex of corners. A little lift into the final corner, make sure he gets the nose in, make sure he doesn't end up as wide as Pierpont did, although didn't really hurt Pierpont at all, did it, in the end. They down the back straight. I keep saying back straight, the main straight, as Liu is into the pits here. Looks like some sort of problem. Or a pit stop that is perhaps scheduled. It's an early one for sure. Liu is trundling down pit road, heading towards his pit box. Adam Liu in and is going to be refuelling here. Rain is expected later in the race, so perhaps that could be playing a factor in what these drivers think is a good strategy, as he just refuels back up to 62 litres and is going again now in this race. As we look further back, he's going to come out just ahead, I think, or maybe just behind Ben Driscoll, who flies through the first couple of corners. Indeed, he's going to come out behind, so drops back to the rear of the field. Lost about 30 seconds or so from that, but he's still comfortably on the lead lap for now, as the gap at the top 2 is pretty much staying level so far in this race. Evan Dalton not being able to close in, but equally he's not losing ground. These two matching each other's pace so far. Aston Lewis, he's looking like he might be able to match the pace as well, but again, he's already got that big gap to them. There's not much he can do. As behind them he has Thomas Pierpont, who is 16 seconds off the lead. Then Tyler Davison, who is 17 seconds off the lead. Then we have Niall Kerrin and Jonathan Mills. Niall Kerrin has got past Mills there as they head down the main straight. Mills looking to try and maybe make a move on the Irishman up ahead, but not quite able to do anything on this occasion. The gap a bit too big here, and he's not able to get close enough. If you look further down the order, we see here Adam Liu, the driver who has pitted already, is reeling in Ben Driscoll, one of the drivers who is making a return to IndyCar, not having the best of returns so far, but it certainly could be worse. He's currently sitting in that 9th position, would be some solid points in the championship there, as he is ahead of Adam Liu. Adam Liu trying to clear the traffic as quickly as possible so that he can try and gain from an undercut of some sorts, or maybe hope for a caution. We're one spin away from a caution. The three spinners are Ben, Scott and Jono. Was it Jono? No, it was Niall, sorry. It was Tom, Scott and Niall. So that is all of the drivers that have spun so far. One more and it would be a caution, so if Liu spun or if Jono spun or any of these drivers had any issues, then that would, if they had an issue that cost them more than 3 seconds effectively, other than a slowdown, in which case we wouldn't give the time back up because the slowdown is a bit different. But up at the front now, the gap is really closing in. Evan Dalton is pulling the gap down to Adam Richardson. Adam Richardson perhaps struggling a little bit out front in this race. Maybe a mistake, a track limits breach, something like that could be the catalyst for his gap beginning to close. Although I have to say his gap to Aston Lewis hasn't changed too much, so this could just be Evan Dalton hitting some good form here. As we look further down the field, I believe Adam Liu is about to make the move on Ben Driscoll. He's close, but I don't know if he's quite close enough here as they head down the main straight. The gap might be a tad too big as he heads down towards turn 1. Looks indeed like the gap is too big this time. He's going to have to wait another lap, stuck in that dirty air, not able to make the overtake. But up at the front here, the gap now growing again to 2.2 seconds. Through the final corner they go. Evan Dalton really pushing to try and reel in Adam Richardson. But you have to give credit to Richardson. He is really flying out front at the moment, using that dirty air to the best of his abilities to hold on out front in this race. And it's worked so far. It absolutely has. As he gets it through that turn 2 and now up into turn 3. No more cars of pit, as we do actually have a spinner on the racetrack somewhere. Who is that? That was Scott Sandover, who's gone around. So yeah, that's a problem there for Scott Sandover. I'm not sure if Jonathan Mills spun ahead of him or not there. I don't know if that was just Scott, or we've got Thomas Pierpont into the pits now. So we are still one away from a yellow. I wasn't sure. I'm going to have to look back on the stream there to see who was the spinner in that situation. Because Scott, of course, already has spun in this race. And Juno has not. It was Jono, so the caution is going to come out here. Apologies for the delay on that. I wasn't 100% sure and I did not want to call it at an incorrect time. Oh, okay. Oh, that's wonderful. Slight technical issue. Apologies. Sorry for the blue screen that you have. Which is especially difficult, which is wonderful. Apologies, that's the caution is now out here on the racetrack. That is really annoying, as the cars now do slow down. Adam Richardson, the race leader, backs his pace down, as pit lane will be closed, no one will be allowed to pit. So Niall was actually already in the pits when the caution was called by the looks of things. And a couple of other cars I think may have already pitted as well. I'm not sure what the situation is for everyone here in the field. But yeah, Jonathan Mills able to spin. Apologies for the slight delay in getting it, and then an even extended delay because of my PlayStation app on my phone deciding that today was the day, at this exact time, that it wanted to not sign in, and sadly, I don't have access to the old email that it was signed into, so I can't verify the signing in, which is something that I should sort out, and we'll try and sort out before next race. Although sadly I don't think I'll be able to sort it out mid-race here today, which means we will have to deal with it for today only. Quite a spread out field, so we're going to have to wait a while under caution before the pit lane can open. But yes, apologies, that will mean any time you have to throw a caution, or say green this time, or say pit lane open, anytime that happens I will have to put you on a blue screen with some little dots bouncing around. So apologies for that. It also means it'll be slightly longer because I'm not as quick typing on a PlayStation as I am on a phone, so not ideal, but sadly I don't think there's anything we can do, although if anyone does have any suggestions, mid-race fixes for that, please do let me know, because that would be much appreciated to try and fix that. As the field bunching up here, the top 3 cars nose to tail. Actually that's not true, I think that's Thomas Pierpont. Is that a lap down? It is. Thomas Pierpont went a lap down because of that corner when he pitted, so he went behind the leaders, which means he'll get his lap back. So I'll let them know. There we go, back to this, and hopefully now Tom... Oh, as he's crashed into Evan Dalton! He was trying to unlap himself, and he's crashed into Evan Dalton, 2nd place in the race. I can't believe that! That was... well, Evan is going to be fuming with that one in his final start for a while. He is not going to be in the position that he absolutely deserved to be here. He's been hit out of that 2nd position by a lapped car. That is extremely unfortunate there for the Irishman. He was having a really good day until that moment. He's still in 4th position, so it's not all gone just yet. But yeah, that's cost him at least 2 places, if not more, when the pit cycle does begin. So yeah, we'll just wait and see now. The field is basically bunch to go now, so we will open the pit lane. Pit lane is back open here, so I believe Thomas may will pit. I know he's already just pit, hasn't he? So I imagine he'll be staying out. Indeed he will. The rest of the field, I don't know. So let's have a look. I think Jono has pit. Adam Liu has pit. Ben Driscoll hasn't. We'll go back to the front. Richardson hasn't. Davison hasn't. Aston Lewis has pit, so he will inherit the lead here by staying out. As all the cars file into pit road, all those that needed fuel are going to come and get some, but Aston Lewis is going to stay out on the racetrack, and he will inherit the lead of this race. As Niall Kerrin jumps into second, Ben Driscoll, despite being on the brink of needing fuel, has decided to stay out. He's only got 9.2 litres left, and he has stayed out on the racetrack. That is not going to last very long at all. So he's going to have to pit under green now, as we have to wait for the field to bunch back up. Yes, Adam Liu, he has got some fuel in the car. Adam Liu, sadly for him, he was running fourth for a while before all the drama happened, and he's going to still be fourth for the moment, at least on this restart, despite going on a different round strategy. As all the cars leaving the pits now behind, so Jonathan Mills is the last of the drivers. Is that rain that I just saw? I feel like, yes, that's rain. Rain is now falling here on this racetrack, just as cars have exited the pits. Rain is falling. Now that is unexpected. I didn't expect it to come this early. Now we saw last week, we saw very early rain, but it wasn't wet for a while as that's around goes Adam Richardson, the effective race leader, before all the drama, or before all the cautions. Before the caution came out, Adam Richardson was your race leader, but he spun here under yellow. He'd already lost the lead in the pit lane. Davison, I believe, is now the leader of the drivers who pitted. He's ahead of Sandover, then Dalton. But Richardson, with a mistake, he is now way back in 9th position. The leader before the pits is going to restart this race in 9th place, I believe. We're not going to be green this time, though. Which means, I mean, all the field has a chance to come back in and pit for a new set of tyres if they wanted to. Will anyone gamble? There's a possibility, but equally, if they do that, then may not the restart may not wait for them, because that's simply how it works. You have that one lap to have a pit stop, where if you pit then and you catch back up to the pack, we wait until you're back with the pack before we go. But if you pit on the second lap that we pass the pit lane, and then we won't wait for you effectively. Or equally, if you put on slicks in very wet conditions or wets in very slick conditions, we're not going to wait forever, basically. We'll wait a lap. We'll give you the time that it would require you to get in if you're on the preferred tyre. But otherwise, we're giving an unfair advantage to people who are doing an unusual strategy. So we will now confirm to all the drivers that we'll be green racing this time around. Go back racing again at the end of this lap. A very mixed up order. Aston Lewis is now your race leader, ahead of Niall Kerrin and Ben Driscoll. Then behind him it is Adam Liu, followed by Jonathan Mills, Tyler Davison, Scott Sandover, Evan Dalton, Adam Richardson and Thomas Pierpont. With rain falling, it's a matter of time before they have to pit for wets. But for now, all the field are still on dry tyres. Almost all of them are fairly new on fuel, fairly full of fuel, apart from Ben Driscoll in third, who's quite low. Perhaps going to try and risk it and go for the rain. We're getting ready for the restart now as they make their way through the final corner. The field bunching up, backing up, getting ready to go racing once more. Aston Lewis, it's up to him. When will we return to racing speed? He puts his foot to the floor, and we are racing again here in the Japanese Grand Prix. We are racing down towards turn 1 in damp conditions, on slick tyres. What could possibly go wrong here? Aston Lewis has a big crash on the run into the first corner. Huge accident. Ben Driscoll's off. Adam Liu's off. Big accident there as they went into the first corner. As that is Ben Driscoll off. And Tyler Davison's been caught up in it as well. Now there's 3 cars caught up on that restart crash. Although I believe somehow Adam Liu's been caught up in that but survived. But we're still going to count that because, well, that was definitely... I didn't see exactly, but I'm sure there was a spin in there somewhere for him. And at least he's lost 3 seconds from that. But up at the front here, Aston Lewis leading as the rain continues to fall. Just in the background there, a huge crash on the restart as some sort of contact in the braking zone as they head towards turn 1. We were lucky they didn't collect too many more cars, only Davison, which is still heartbreaking for him. But somehow only one other car, other than the 2 that originally crashed, got caught up in that one, which is a miracle in its own way. As Aston Lewis, he leads this race by 1.5 seconds. Behind them is Jonathan Mills and then Scott Sandover. As we look through the field here, the track a little bit damp, but it's still in racing order. Right here, Adam Richardson has dropped to the back. That must have been a spin there for Adam Richardson, which means the caution is going to come out once. Back out, and this will potentially lead to some drivers pitting. He's got a car off the road here. Who is that? That is Scott Sandover, who's gone off the road. He's backwards in the grass. Going to have to spin his car back around, try and get going quickly. He might still be able to hold on a couple of positions here. He gets straight back going, and he's hit out the way there by Ben Driscoll, who tries to make the move before Scott got back up to racing speeds. As the caution is out, so no passing is allowed. The question there would be whether Scott was back up to speed or not. Pace speed being 75, I want to say 75 miles per hour. Sorry, I'll be honest, the winter break has not done wonders for my memory. Yeah, so that equally that they were just going into a corner, so you could argue, okay, well, you can't get 75 at that part of the racetrack if he wasn't going that. I imagine that would be what the argument is. But Ben Driscoll racing part-time, I'd be surprised if he was too bothered. I might be wrong, he might be heartbroken, but I would be surprised if he's too bothered, and I need to spam they on track. Oh, thank God then, before the pit entry. Okay, well, panic averted. As we see the top 3 appear to be coming in. Is that Evan Dalton staying out? It is indeed Evan Dalton, risking it here, staying out on the racetrack. So will Thomas Pierpont. Aston Lewis will too. Oh no, is that Aston Lewis staying out? No, Aston Lewis is in the pit too. That's Tyler Davison, sorry, it's the wrong yellow and red car. Now this is where the game makes it very tricky for us. Because it'll still show all cars on slicks, even if they're on wets. So I honestly couldn't tell you whether any of these cars are on slicks or if they're on wets. And I'm really genuinely sorry. Let's see, does timings tell us? Let's have a look. I don't think no, it doesn't appear to. I don't think I can. I don't know if there's a way that we can get confirmation, because with 10 cars in the race, it's been hard to keep track of what tyres everyone's on. So yeah, we'll have to wait and see what sort of pace they have on the restart, whether it's wet, dry, who knows what it will be. Ben Driscoll's having the longest pit stop here, as he has to refuel as well as having some new tyres. He was the one driver that did not refuel before it, which would have worked out quite well if it wasn't for the massive crash into turn 1 on the restart. So we do have a new comment. Hello. Let's have a look at this. Okay, thank you very much, Kyle. That is extremely helpful. So, Kyle knows that Tyler and Evan are on wet compound tyres, which is very good news for those. They're running first and third at this rate in this race. Evan Dalton, he's leading this race. He's on wet tyres in what are looking like wet conditions. This is a very, very good chance here for Evan Dalton to try and take a win. So, thank you very much, Kyle, for your input there. Thomas Pierpont in second. I would guess then that maybe he's on the same strategy as they are. I would. That's purely a guess. I'll be honest. We've got no intel on that. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see on the restart if he's able to keep pace or not. As we get ready for the restart, he is in that second place, and he should be fairly prominent on this restart, hopefully. As we've got a crash actually under caution in the background. I don't know who's been involved there, and we'll keep the cameras off that for now. As up at the front, Evan Dalton selling his nerves, just getting ready for this restart. It's not going to be simple. It never is in wet conditions to get the restart right. We will be green could happen from this point on in the race. So let's just get ready now. Let's get our hopes up. Let's hope that we'll have a nice finish to this one. And Dalton backing the pack up here, getting ready for the restart as they go through the 2 left-hand kinks. And now down towards the final corner. He gets ready to hit the throttle. He weaves, he gets tyre temperature, he's doing all he can here to help him on this restart. Evan Dalton leading this one. There is 12 laps left in this race. It's Evan Dalton out front. It will be his final Predicted IndyCar start for a long while. He gets ready. He puts his foot to the floor, and we are green flag racing once more. He's got a car off in the background. That's Aston Lewis who's gone off. As we now see as they head down the main straight once more. We've got a car looking like they may already be going into the pits, or at least struggling there indeed. Niall Kerrin's into the pits. Got side-by-side racing for second place. Davison trying to find his way past Pierpont as they go through turn 2, and Davison jumps up to make it a Dalton Autosport 1-2 here. As then Thomas Pierpont drops to third. He'll looking to try and get that position back. Richardson already back up into 4th place ahead of Lee. Then comes Mills. Behind them, we have Sandover, who's had some sort of difficulties on this restart. 2 cars with major difficulties here, with Niall Kerrin, who went through the pits down. I'm not quite sure why. Maybe he was on slick still. Who knows what happened there for him. But 2 cars, we're going to say already, with issues. And then we have Ben Driscoll and Scott Sandover here, who have dropped back a little bit, but I don't really know what's happened to those, so we're going to say 2, because equally Niall could well have just pitted normally, so don't have enough intel there to be able to say more than 2. As you look back to the front, it's Evan Dalton, who's trying to break away out front here in these torrential conditions. We've had a lot of wet races recently, perhaps getting a bit bored of it. I think a lot of these drivers are. But it's certainly challenging for everyone. 11 laps remain in this race. Flying through the final corner, you have to lift now. It's certainly no longer an easy flat corner. This track as a whole has become so much more difficult in these treacherous conditions. It's Evan Dalton that leads ahead of Tyler Davison, who's trying to break the slipstream. 2 Thomas Pierpont just behind him. Pierpont looking to try and take that second place back that he lost on the restart, but for now it doesn't look like he's going to be able to. Richardson has lost a place to Liu there, his teammate, who goes up into 4th position. As now we see that's Mills, who's starting to pressure Richardson just ahead of him. Mills has shown some good performances in the wet before. He'll be looking to try and repeat them here as he looks to try and crack into the top 5. These wet conditions new to everyone in this field, trying to figure out how to make them work, where the puddles will form, where they won't, where the dry line is and where it won't be. Let's see what will happen here. Mills, a lot of sliding out of the chicane, lost a little bit of ground there, but at the same time looked like he gained a little bit on entry. So all these cars having very different performance levels in the wet conditions, and by that I don't mean the actual cars, I mean the car as a whole, the car and driver combination. The driver, whether they can feel where the grip is, whether they can feel what the limit is. It's the simple sort of the keys to being quick, but it's too easy to just be like that. As now we see out to Mills going down the inside. That's going to end badly. They both go off. Big crash there as Mills at a very unusual overtaking spot sticks out. And the field will slow down as we look back up to the front. Mills and Richardson. Controversial contact. Mills saw a chance. He went for it. It didn't work out as he goes spinning off the road with championship contender Adam Richardson. Up at the front though, it's Dalton Autosport 1-2. They will be thrilled. Evan Dalton, the owner of Dalton Autosport, whilst he may be leaving as a driver, Dalton Autosport, as far as well, will be remaining until the end of the season, at least, if not next season, if Evan would like to do that as well. So this is a real chance for them as a team to just show what they're made of, running first and second here in this race. Truly wonderful to see a team that are looking to, well, say farewell to their team owner on a high. For now, at least. Of course, Evan could be back in Project IndyCar in the future, and we certainly hope he'll make some one-off starts in the future as well, and maybe, just maybe, come back for a full season to try and win that championship that this season, I think it's fair to say, he's proved that he deserves. Leading here once more. The field bunching up, we will say. Pit lane open. Get back into here. The pit lane is open. We'll see if anyone jumps for pit lane. I would imagine most people can take fuel to the end. I'm not 100% sure on that, but my best guess would be that they can all make fuel to the end. Let's see. Davison fakes it. Doesn't go for it. Again, he fakes it. Someone in the background is pitting those up. Ben going into the pit lane. as I've missed it. Well, there's a little bit of contact there. I've missed, oh my. There, Ben Driscoll is going to the pits. I've misclicked on every other car around him as we try to find him. Finally found him though. He comes into the pits. He's only got 5.4 litres on board. Fuel has not been Ben's friend here today, as he sticks some fuel in his car. And he's actually putting on new tyres, which is nice of the game to show us that. Yeah. So apparently it only shows wet tyres when you put on a second set. Unless he was on dries, in which case that would explain... Has he only got 25 litres? That's a lot less than most of our people do. Ben is definitely unique strategies going for today. As you look up to the leader, Evan Dalton. The pressure now alleviated compared to the previous restart with his teammate behind. He knows he's got a bit of a safety net there. A little sort of lock up here or a little slip of the tyre there. He's got a little bit of safety there. Davison not in the title fight. I mean, realistically, neither of them are now. But, you know, Davison, I'm sure, a good friend of Evan Dalton, will be wanting to see his friend win. Of course, he'll want to win after last race, and I'm sure if Evan isn't in the fight, then he's definitely making any attempt he can. But I wonder maybe there's just a little thought in his mind, or some team orders perhaps. I'm not sure about that, but maybe Davison, being a good friend here, will not give his teammate the win, but certainly won't steal it from him. I wouldn't say he's not going to make a stupid move. I really hope I haven't jinxed that. That would be painful. But I'm looking forward to the final 7 green laps of this race, as Bennett isn't going to quite catch the field in time this time, so we're going to go green next time. So at the start of the finish of the next lap. I think that's the correct way of phrasing that. As here we see our race leader. As we've got debris flying in the background, that's not usually a good sign. The whole field past the start-finish line. We will tell them that it's... Have a quick look at time penalties so you can all see. Niall Curran has managed to pick up a 10-second time penalty. That is most likely for speeding into the pit lane. That could have been to do with the restart things that happened where he went down pit lane. Maybe he crashed down pit lane, that's possible. He couldn't have crashed that quickly down pit lane because he would have been disqualified. Or maybe he just committed late and slid in. Not 100% sure on that. But yeah, green this time. The other penalties, of course, Dammers with a 1-second time penalty. In these conditions, that could well cost him a position. Maybe 2 if he's unlucky. And Jonathan Mills with a 1 second as well. That'll probably cost him a position or 2 as well. In this race, they just got to try and hope that they build up a gap to the cars behind them. As Evan takes us into the final sector to get ready for the restart. 7 laps ahead of us. He weaves, he gets the tyre temperature. We're almost ready to go back racing. Now it's up to Evan. When will he put his foot down? Out of the final corner, down the main straight. We are green flag racing again here for the Japanese Grand Prix. Dalton leads in a 1-2 for the team. Behind him, his teammate, and then they've got another pair of Liu and Pierpont, who are looking like they might go side by side here into turn 1. There's contact between the two there. It's hard to tell through all the spray, but I think that may well have been Pierpont on the outside there in the lighter blue compared to Liu. In the darker shade of blue there, he's got side-by-side racing further back. That's Aston Lewis and Adam Richardson, 2 champion contenders. Oh, they've crashed again! Jonathan Mills hits the side of Adam Richardson for the 2nd time in, well, they crashed for a 3rd time. They've crashed 3 times now. Niall Curran's got involved and he's off the road as well. It's all going wrong here on the restart for Adam Richardson. He's dropped down to 8th position, championship contender. He could lose another position as he swipes across the front of Niall Curran, who was looking to the inside. There's more contact here for Adam Richardson. He's getting hit around all over the place here, whether it's his fault or the other drivers he's racing, I'm not sure. It's hard to tell live, but it's certainly not been a restart. But I want is now Ben Driscoll looking to try and make the move here as they head towards the next corner. Driscoll looking to the inside. He brakes late. He's going to try and make the move. There's contact. Will bang between the pair of them, but Driscoll makes the move. And now we see that's Richardson trying to make the switch back there, but he can't quite pull it off. Richardson is going to drop, and he's off the road again. Richardson's into the wall. The championship contender, Adam Richardson, has gone from bad to worse here on this restart. He's dropped all the way from up, fighting for the top 5, all the way down to 10th place in this race. And this is not what he needed. This is worst case scenario, sitting 2nd in the championship. This is going to give a heap of points to both Aston Lewis and Adam Liu in this race, and this could well reignite the championship fight that we were worried we were going to lose here with Evan Dalton going. It is going to be exciting, as just behind him we see Tyler Davison dropping back from the race leader. Then we have Thomas Pierpont in that third position, looking to try and pass the Dalton Autosport car ahead of him. Adam Liu trying to capitalise on the drama we've seen elsewhere in the field. If he can get a podium here today, that would be great points for his championship challenge. Aston Lewis in that fifth position after missing last race. He needs to try and recover some points in this fight. When Adam Richardson struggles and Adam Liu only being one position ahead, he is still in a strong position. But Evan Dalton out front. If it wasn't for the fact that this was his last race, I would say today was the day that Evan Dalton stamped his authority on that championship trophy and began to engrave his name into the base of it. But sadly, alas, that does not seem to be the case, as we see he is likely to, he is going to miss the rest of this season. Evan Dalton out front, leading by 3 seconds almost now. This is the Evan Dalton that we know. This is the Evan Dalton that wins races. He's pulling away out front there. Number 12, Dalton Autosport Chevrolet. 3 seconds now the gap to his teammate in second place. Then it is Thomas Pierpont in third place, ahead of Adam Liu. And then Aston Lewis trying to get some ground on the championship, as that's Jonathan Mills, who's gone around. He's managed to spin through the final corner. Problems for him, as Ben Driscoll looks like he's had some sort of issues. So we're at 3 cars with issues now since the restart. So 1 more and a caution. However, at the start of the final sector on lap 30, there will be a no more caution ban, basically. No more cautions remaining in this race after that point. So we're a lap and a sector away from that now. 7 Dalton leads away. It's cut away from that just as it got exciting. Apologies. Niall Caron just made the move there on Scott Sandover for 6th place. Niall Caron, last time out, showed he knows how to drive in the wet conditions. And again, he's putting on a solid drive here, as he's gained another position as Adam Richardson runs wide in the background there. As this pack here battling away for this second and third position. Seems like it's a battle that could well go down all the way to the wire here. Thomas Pierpont on the back of Davison. The dirty air, I don't know, honestly. Oh, look at all the debris that's been dropped in the final corner. Let's hope that doesn't have too much of an effect on the cars, because that would be very dangerous if some cars ploughed through them and started spinning, especially in these wet conditions, where you really have to be on the right line at the right time here. As Pierpont chucks the car into turn 1, pushing hard here to try and take that position off of Davison, trying to take that second place away. And at the end, at the start of the final sector on this lap, there will be no cautions. No more cautions as that Mills, who's gone off here in the final corner. He's spun through the final corner. He's already counted though, so that will not be added to the caution count. So we're still at 3 here, and with just a sector remaining before no more cautions. Let's see how this one plays out. It's going to be close. As here we see contact. There was that contact front to rear between Pierpont and Davison. Davison trying to defend for his life here from Thomas Pierpont as they head down towards the next corner. Heavy braking zone up ahead. The banking means that the water and fury. Oh, there's the contact. Davison gets hit in the rear by Pierpont. Pierpont doing all he can to get past. But Davison must have broke quite early though, because he got hit in the rear and still made the corner perfectly fine. That's an unusual situation. Usually if you see contact like that, one or both cars are heading, well, on a one-way trip to the barriers. As no more cautions in this race now. No more cautions. We're green to the end as Pierpont's looking in the final corner to try and make the move. That surely isn't going to be possible through there. Davison now falling almost 5 seconds back from his teammate, but he's got all his eyes in the mirror. He's not looking ahead anymore. He's got all his focus on that bright blue Chevrolet behind him that's trying to steal that second spot, that silverware away from him, as they battle here through turns 2 and now heading into the kink of 3 before the slightly heavier braking zone of turn 4. Pierpont a little bit further back this lap around, trying just to find his way past that bright yellow Chevrolet up ahead of him. Davison making that car very wide in this part of the racetrack. Not that you have to make it too wide, it's quite a narrow racetrack to be fair, but he's still doing a brilliant job out there ahead of Pierpont. His teammate now growing that lead even further. Davison doing all he can here as that's allowing Liu to get involved in this fight too. As we've got close battling further down the order as well, I believe that is Ben Driscoll, who is close to the rear of Scott Sandover. Scott Sandover is not having fun in these wet conditions at all here. Struggling a lot out there. He's lost 6 seconds to Niall Caron since he was passed by him. Not what he would have wanted at all. Now he's going to have to try and defend from Ben Driscoll for that 7th position. As we look back to this battle, once again it's Pierpont and Davison taking different lines through that final corner, trying to find any little bit of grip they can salvage out on this racetrack now. It's getting wetter and wetter out there, and you can see the spray flying off these cars. The visibility can't be too great out there at all. As we see Davison into turn 1. He just has to be perfect here, just like last race we saw at the end. We're here to defend from Adam Liu. It's not necessarily about going quickly, it's just about not making mistakes. just keeping himself on the right part of the racetrack at the right time, and you'll be able to keep the car behind you right in your mirrors. As now it's looking like it's working for him, as Pierpont made a mistake there and he's lost quite a little bit of time. That could even allow Adam Liu, to make the move to get up another position. Looking to try and make a manoeuvre as they head down the back straight. Liu looking closer than ever to Pierpont up ahead of him, heading down the back straightaway and towards the next corner. As we look up to the front of the field, Evan Dalton is getting ready to come down the main straight for the penultimate time. The white flag is waving for Evan Dalton. 1 lap remains in the Japanese Grand Prix. Evan Dalton leads it, as behind him the battle for P2 continues, but Tyler Davison now at a gap bigger than he's had on previous laps. One more time around here, he's looking like he's in a good position for now, as he tries to hold on to that position for the remainder of this lap. Pierpont now perhaps having to look in his mirrors to try and fend off Adam Liu, who we saw last time out is very good in the wet conditions. Behind him, Aston Lewis not putting much pressure on the cars ahead of him. Then comes Niall Kernan, and that is Ben Driscoll ahead of Scott Sandover. He managed to make that manoeuvre on the Chevrolet driver, as Scott Sandover goes way off the road down at turn 1 there. He goes quite a bit wide, and now bouncing back into the track. Is a thing to keep an eye out here on is Adam Liu. Will he have a second or more gap behind him to Aston Lewis? As things stand, the gap is around 2 seconds. So he's looking okay for now, but if Pierpont were to back up, or if Davison was to back up Pierpont, or to back up Liu, it would then get into quite a tricky situation for him. But as we look back up to the front of the field, Evan Dalton, this is going to be his last race of Project IndyCar for a while. He wanted to go out on a high. He wanted to give himself a good farewell, the farewell that he deserved, and that's exactly what he's done. Evan Dalton wins the Japanese Grand Prix. Farewell, Evan Dalton. Thank you for everything. What a driver. The championship leader. He may well not be champion this season, but well, he certainly deserved it. He does donuts down in turn 1. Evan Dalton wins the Japanese Grand Prix. Behind him, Tyler Davison does hold on to that second position, and Thomas Pierpont will take 3rd place here, ahead of Adam Liu and Aston Lewis in that 5th position there. As they all begin to celebrate here. So we look forward now, Jonathan Mills will be the last driver to cross the line. He makes way through the final corner now. Adam Richardson has managed to recover to get back up into 8th place in this one, but only an 8th place compared to what could have been a much better result. Then it's Scott Sandover, and Jonathan Mills will take the final finishing position of today's race in 10th. So that was the Japanese Grand Prix here in Project IndyCar. Evan Dalton is your winner in his final race for potentially a long time. Evan Dalton, he goes out on the high that he wanted, winning by 7.3 seconds, a huge margin. He also takes fastest lap, and if it wasn't for that grid penalty in qualifying, it would have been a perfect weekend for him to go out on. Sadly, sometimes life just isn't perfect, but it's still a wonderful way and a fitting way for Evan Dalton to leave Project IndyCar, an Indianapolis 250 winner, and multiple wins to his name. This season really has been one that, well, it was a championship season in the making that in the end just did not end that way. But thank you very much, Evan Dalton, for your time in Project IndyCar. Truly it was a pleasure to commentate on you and to race against you back when I was a racer. But yes, thank you very much. And, well, we hope to see you back at some point in the future. And, well, good luck for your future in your commentary. Truly deserve that as well. And, well, good luck and thank you. And also thank you to everyone who watched today's stream. Hope you also all enjoyed it. It was quite the exciting race here with drama, strategy, rain, everything was in the mix. Even some overtaking, even some crashes, which some of us, I think it's fair to say, are a bit partial to. But yes, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you all next time. Goodbye.